Start there. Yep. Here.
Here.
Matt Blanchett will be coming in. Jessica Lamb.
On the phone.
Yep, and Heather
Here.
Jacobs.
Here.
Then I've got Jack Buckus. I have Joe Culata on the phone. I have Alex Schumann. And
Yes. Welcome back, Jack.
Thank you.
How was your vacation?
Very good.
All right, agenda. Any comments, changes to the agenda? So Perkins is not going to present anything today. Joe did send an update, so I think for their section, it's really just going to come down to probably like Joe, like a verbal, anything changed from last meeting, if that's okay with you. I don't know if we need to change the agenda necessarily for that, but just to keep everyone aware what's going to happen there. Any other changes? I miss anything on the agenda? If not, I'll take an action to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Ken Jackson. Is there a second? Thank you, John. Any last discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, agenda approved. Approval of minutes. Should all receive a digital copy of the minutes. Anyone have any comments or changes that they want to make to the minutes? If not, I'll take an action to approve.
So moved.
Okay, second. Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes from July 19th, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Matt's abstaining. Thank you. Okay. Any public comments or any submittals? Okay. My update, the only thing I have, and we're going to be talking about this at under new business, is that we got a letter from the town manager regarding the change order process, so we'll talk about that. But there really not much happened in the last 2 weeks that I can talk about, which is probably a good thing, because we had like a really, what's the word, like crazy couple of months there, so I'm glad that things are starting to level out.
They finished the design.
They did finish. Yes, we did get the construction document package. Did you take a look at it? Okay. You're like I'm looking to you because you know these things. Our resident expert. All right. So communication subcommittee report.
Okay, I'm gonna pass out a document here. It's two pages, so make sure you have both pages. This is just an outline for potential groundbreaking, so I'll get to that in a minute. The communication subcommittee, we met last week. We went through a few items in our meeting. First thing we discussed was how we're going to make the community aware of construction notices, if you will. So if there's any traffic flow changes or, things to be aware of. So we are going to add to our newsletter a section we're toying with some different names like Be Aware or something like that just gives kind of like, this is what we anticipate to be happening this month, obviously subject to change, and follow our Facebook page for latest updates. And then we'll post all of that, any of those Be Aware items to our Facebook page. And then we'll also use the superintendent's listserv to get it out to Cromwell school families. We also talked about in the fall doing another social campaign. So we had previously done a social campaign called Did You Know, that went through some of the challenges with the existing building, so things that had just changed and the reasons why we were looking to move forward with a new school. So now we thought we could do a Did You Know series and feature some of the great highlights of the new school. So talking about the auditorium and some of the different aspects of, how we've incorporated a lot of sustainable decision making into the design, things like that. So we're going to look to launch that in the fall. Then our newsletter will go out next week as part of our regular monthly cadence, as well as the Town Council and Board of Education reports. So I'll pause there for a minute. Any questions on any of that?
No questions, but I do want to commend the subcommittee's continuous dedication to this project. You guys just always surprise me about how much energy and effort you put into everything. So I just want to acknowledge that and to tell you that we're very appreciative of all your work for your whole team.
Thank you.
That would be Shannon and Jessica pulling their weight.
No,
So with the
it's
design
everyone.
stuff, I have
Yes.
had to pull back. So Shannon and
You're
Jessica
such a
get all the
slacker,
kudos.
Heather.
I 100%. I will own it.
Okay, so then moving on, kind of our next big event that the communication subcommittee is going to work with, well, everyone here and then obviously the broader school community on is a groundbreaking ceremony. So the 2 pages I passed out is a proposal of what this possibly could be like. Sorry if some of the words are cut off. My printer was being real funky today. So this is just our proposal, some of the ideas that we discussed in our committee, and I'll go through all this and feel free to anyone, ask questions, jump in, and we can kind of figure out where we see this going. I do want to remind the committee that we have other opportunities to recognize construction progress. So we would have, we can have a groundbreaking, we could do something for the final beam, and then I hope that we do some kind of like open house and opening ribbon cutting as well. The timing for the groundbreaking is obviously a little bit tricky being in the winter, so we were proposing mid-March, so that would account for any possible delays. Potentially could be better weather, but then also we'll have an idea of like what's going on with the construction site, so we can make sure we get people there safely and we understand how to flow through traffic. I feel like that'll give us a little bit of time to navigate some of that. So on the little map here, you can see the star, which is the kind of the corner of the parking lot, and we were thinking in the existing school where we exit, I guess that's the student like drop off entrance, right? Like that exit by the art room, to have access into the interior easily, kind of like in that corner just outside the construction fence, and we would bring in ground. And then the image could be taken from kind of the parking lot, so like the background would be, construction site as a possible location. That we might know more as things evolve, but that's the proposal. The thought was access to the parking and access into the existing building. Okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah. Unless Tom or Joe, do you guys have any thoughts? Like, does it align with what you've done before?
No comments. That's fine. Whatever you need.
Okay.
Pile of dirt or whatever, we can take care of that.
And
Yes,
the location
please.
is fine, like right outside the fence like that? It's fine
Yeah.
with you? Okay.
Yep.
So if timing works well, you could, when would steel be erected?
Be close.
Could time it with the topping off ceremony. And you could have all the students sign a beam,
Well, we were thinking we could do a separate ceremony. You're saying we would be able to do it together?
You're saying it'd be around the same
but it'd
time?
be, March will be around that time.
Okay.
I don't think we'll be done with the steel. We'll probably be starting the steel in March.
Okay.
Okay.
So finishing steel and,
April.
yeah. Well, they're thinking about the final steel beam.
Yeah.
Is that something that we could do? Like have kids sign a beam?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Just be careful what you ask for.
Why?
Graffiti.
Oh. But they're not going to see it. It's going to be hidden in the building, right?
Yeah.
Rosanna, they did that both for the high school additions renovations and for the Whiz.
Oh, you did?
They had the kids all sign it.
That's nice. Do we want to do groundbreaking earlier to keep them more like apart? Or are we just worried about
we
weather?
could. I mean, certainly weather is a consideration, but
I would suggest separate ceremonies because you're dealing with all the kids in the school for, control and all that. And
Yeah.
if you have crowds of people for your ceremony, it's going to be a quick ceremony. You're not talking a long time for the
Yeah.
groundbreaking. I
Yeah.
just suggest having separate.
and I think like I kind of see like the groundbreaking, like we can invite like whoever wants to come from the public, but for the beam signing, if we're doing the students, then that needs to take place like during the day in school, and that could kind of be more focused on the students.
So I guess my first question, where did I do it the other?
No, you got it.
Oh, my first question is, so if you're doing after school during the week, so kids will choose to stay for it or they go home.
Mm-hmm.
Because just from a security standpoint, we don't want to do it during school, right?
Yeah,
If we
if,
did
like,
during
if we're-
school, there'd be no public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which obviously we can adjust any of this, but our thought was this would be kind of like the invite the public event, and then the beam would be the like in school all student event.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the proposal is mid-March, a weekday around 4 p.m.
Okay.
We still have daylight.
Yep.
Hopefully people can get out of work early if they're able to.
Maybe like early March,
Mm-hmm.
just to spread out the.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, and I think we have to kind of wait until we see like where bidding and stuff goes. Too,
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah.
Would we, if given the possible proximity of these two things, would we want to just have the groundbreaking just for, like ourselves, town officials, et cetera, and then just do the beam raising focused on the students, or you want the students involved maybe in both?
So we have some ideas for how students can be involved in the groundbreaking, but in terms of like actually attending, I think like it would be on like their own time, their family's own time for the
Okay.
groundbreaking.
All right, yeah.
And then
I don't think the whole student population would be there. Just be whoever wanted to go and representatives, the
Yeah.
people speaking, the kids who are speaking.
yeah. So that jumps us to the ceremony. So we planned here about a 27-minute ceremony with 2 speakers. We had an idea for perhaps doing like a student poetry or short essay contest that students can submit. Like we could do a theme like new beginnings or, some kind of, starting type of theme. And students can submit pieces of work that then could be read at the ceremony. So those students, they could be like the representatives of the students, and we just have to think, do we want like 2 from WIS, 2 from CMS for a total of 4, 1 from each grade? We were thinking WIS and CMS because those are the students who, like the 6th graders will, I guess next year 6th graders would be in the new building in 8th grade, and then the WIS students would be in the new building. So that's kind of where we came up with the WIS and CMS students. And then those same students be the ones that would do like the first digging into the pile of dirt. And then we just wrote down like some of the photos, the students, Board of Ed, any administrators, town officials, and then the building committee. Okay, so next going to guests, we would invite elected officials, town officials, Board of Education, school administrators, and then, public's certainly welcome to come if people are interested. And then we had 3 ideas for how students could be involved in this particular event. So the first one I talked about, the essay poem contest. The other idea we came up with, and this one is going to require a little bit of coordination and help from Newfield, Tom, and then also potentially the PTO. But we were thinking about the construction, fencing, and banners, and could we have students color like a small square that we then like scan and make into a graphic that then either gets printed on the fencing, or we could get banners to add to the fencing. And that's something that like any student who wants to could potentially, contribute to. But we don't really know like when does that get ordered. So any thoughts on that, Tom?
It's really any time you want. It would be a banner that would be attached to the fence.
Okay. So there's no like material on the fencing, on the construction fencing.
Well, yeah, it would be, and, you know, you've seen some screening. It would be
Okay.
like that screening with a print on it.
Okay.
But, like, do you have to remove, are you asking if you have to remove something to put the banner on?
Yeah. Yeah, like do we
Or
attach?
we could do a solid, you know, a solid background.
Yeah, I'm asking, I guess, like, do we attach the banner to that existing screening?
Yeah, you could, or you could just attach it to the chain link fence.
Okay.
Either way.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Is that clear to you, Heather? Okay.
Yeah, so then we could have all the kids do it, throw it together, and then reach out to possibly PTO to help fund the printing of the banners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they're done, we can put them up.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a word about the screening. So we plan to screen only where the construction would be a distraction to the students. For
Okay.
example, on the north side of the school and on the east side of the school. But we don't typically screen everything unless you want it.
Okay.
So that when you drive in where the parents drop off now, that probably would not be screened.
Okay.
But
Alright.
adding
But
the
you could
banner
have a
to
banner
just-
there, yeah, it's
Yeah,
not-
it doesn't matter,
yeah.
right? We could just put the
Right,
banner
doesn't
to the
matter.
screen. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that works out then. Yeah. So that would be something I think we'd probably want to try to have up for the groundbreaking. We had talked about like having people do color and contribute to it, but I guess we could always do it like add on too. So I guess some details to think through there
Yeah.
still.
We have a little bit of time, but it might be a
Yeah.
good thing to get with art teacher to design something with the kids. Is that what you're thinking of? And then have it printed?
Yeah, or yeah, I mean, I think we definitely have to talk to the schools and figure that out because I think it would be great if we could get like all the students in the district
Yeah.
to do it and like the younger grades to like give them a printout like we talked about, like a printout of like different construction icons and they just color it in.
Yeah.
And then do you give the older kids like more free reign? Obviously it needs to be appropriate, and if it's not, it doesn't get included.
Okay. All good ideas.
So all right, so we'll kind of, I mean, we have time, so we'll work through that idea, and we would have to talk to the PTO and then see if we talk to the art teachers or who can help us with that. And then asking CMS News if they would like to come and do a feature on the groundbreaking for their weekly
That'd be good.
their weekly update. What do you
Yeah.
think of that?
Yeah, they'll certainly do it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they're always looking for stories, so,
That,
That's a lot of fodder there for them to report on.
yeah.
Feel like it.
yeah, that would be fun.
Drone? Oh, drone.
No.
Do we know, is there anyone, a club or anything at the high school that does any drone imagery or was there a photography
Oh,
class?
there's people in town who apparently use drones.
Well, then I was trying to involve the students though. And if
yeah.
we could do
Students.
like a, you know, like a
part of their tech.
weekly or every other week or once a month kind of just like an oversight of the
Yeah.
site and how things are evolving and
I
changing.
don't think the middle school doesn't have drones. I don't know if the high school does.
They had a tech club several years ago, and then after
The middle school?
pandemic, yeah.
They had
And
a
kids
drone?
brought in their own drones.
Oh.
And then that.
Middletown has
went
drones.
away.
Does the high school
Just saying.
have something like
I
that
don't
we
know.
could reach out to?
I know the middle school project, they had a camera that was somewhere on a roof, and daily it would take a picture and show the entire progress of the building every day. I haven't seen it, but it's a time-lapse video of
Oh, on top of the
from
old.
beginning to end of the entire building being built, which would kind of be a neat
Can we
thing to do.
do that?
You know?
I know we're asked police
I
to
don't know
take
what
a
club
photo,
would be
but
able to do something like
we can
that.
automate it.
Yeah, or I can ask Paul if there's roof access, I can get up there every day.
Just to capture that. would be
Or I mean, if we
kinda neat.
if we can
Yeah.
put a camera up there,
Yeah.
like even one, like a, I don't know. There's so many cameras, like security cameras.
Well, is Newfield going to have a construction camera?
No.
No, okay.
On one of our current projects, the IT department for the school that was being replaced put up a camera, you know, facing the construction site and just did it, you know, as something that tied in with their overall, you know, IP cameras on the building. And then they split that feed off so it could be seen by the construction team or, you know, as part of a project website or something like that.
Okay. Rosanna, do you know who we would ask about that?
IT, I'll
bet we don't-
ask,
I bet we don't know an IT
I'll
guy.
ask Dr. Macri if we can have her IT people do that.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be cool to be able to document that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Lisa, I don't know if, do you want to see, do you know the IT people?
Yeah, I can
Yeah, she's looking at him.
Oh, IT person. I apologize for that. Acting like you're not even here. Sorry about that.
Can I help you get your foot out of your mouth?
So, would that be something you could do?
Yeah, I think so. I could be something I definitely talk to Steve about.
You probably would need a camera though, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of security cameras on middle school. I'd be surprised if there wasn't one already angled in that direction.
Okay.
We could take a look.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
The only question, so I know I talked about this on email a little bit, but the land acknowledgement, what exactly we're going to talk about during that?
Oh, so a land acknowledgement is, and Jessica can fill in if I mess this up, Jessica. It's just who were the indigenous people that lived on the land that were breaking ground.
What if there were no
So-
indigenous people on this land specifically?
Then we wouldn't do it.
Okay. So they were the Mattabasset? That tribe? They were down in Rocky Hill, Portland, and Wethersfield. But they were all east and south of Cromwell. I guess Cromwell was like a swampy land back in the day.
Yeah.
And
Well, Jessica said she's willing to like look into the research of
Okay.
it, but it's just recognizing ground that we're breaking.
okay.
Ah.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. And there's actually, I'm pulling it up right now. There's already a land acknowledgement statement for our area. It's focused on, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but the wine dunk. So it's an Eastern Algonquin indigenous people. So it's
That's what it was,
right
yeah,
in
yeah.
the Middletown area. So I just want to make sure that that is the correct tribe that we'd be acknowledging. But there is an association already that has the land acknowledgement for the area.
Yeah,
So is there anything to pursue?
yeah,
Yeah.
they were all over this area. Whatever. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just,
All right.
it's a quick acknowledgement. So a few things that we potentially would reach out to the PTO for if, as a committee, we agree. If we want to have refreshments in the cafeteria, I don't think they're necessary, but something to consider. We talked about the banners and then potentially helping out with the paper printouts. I don't know, maybe that's something they can help us to coordinate. They have a lot of good contacts. And then we definitely would need a photographer, and we thought we could ask the PTO if they know of any, Cromwell photographers who might be willing to donate their time and talents to take pictures of the event. So the budget items, we don't have numbers down here yet because we wanted to wait until we, talked some things through, but potentially, the microphone, speakers, podium, getting it set up and outside. We would need to look to the next item on here, school district IT support. So we'll have to talk to Dr. Macri about how we kind of make Ms. Cochula, how we make all that happen. The shovels, hard hats, I don't know if that's Newfield something that you provide.
Yes, we can provide those.
Okay, great. And then we were looking at like stickers for the hard hats, or just maybe stickers to hand out. I don't know if you want us putting stickers on your hard hats. So the fencing fabric banner, that's just the banner, the coloring quilt mosaic banner from above, the actual coloring sheets, and then the refreshments. Yep. So I think we captured, you got all of it. Summarize kind of our discussion. Love to hear everyone else's thoughts and kind of what we think we would like to move forward with and continue researching, or anything we are like, no, we don't think we should do that.
I think it's a good plan. Did we want to invite anyone from the Board of Ed to speak or not?
Yeah, we could.
It's their project. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think if we might want to think about inviting a town person, like a town official too.
Yeah.
Want to do like a-
Alan, what do you think? Does Board of Ed want to speak at the groundbreaking, you think? You don't think so?
We got Enzo in there.
Okay, yeah, we do have Dr. Macri on
I want to keep it short. I'm looking at that, you're never going to stick to 27 minutes.
there.
Not a chance.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Okay.
Maybe like the ribbon cutting, you know, we'd have
Yeah.
more people that want to speak.
Absolutely.
I don't know if like,
That's a good point.
you know, our representatives, but maybe that's better for kind of the end of the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine we'll have a lot of speaking.
Yeah. All right, I'm good. I'm good with this then.
Usually it's the same group at the beginning.
I I mean, it's cold. Keep it short.
I don't want
Yeah.
to invite. Up to you. Yeah, if we want to extend the invite to the
I feel like we should do
representative, maybe that's what
something-
you thought with the town officials.
I feel like we
Yeah,
should do
elected
something
officials.
more.
We'll definitely invite them.
Okay.
I feel like we should do something more grand at the ribbon cutting.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you have something to show off.
Maybe a
Yeah.
bigger.
Right? Like you get to do tours and
Right.
so
Okay.
I think.
All right, I'm good. Any comments on this? Do we need to vote on it or just? Do we need to vote on this?
That's up to you. This is just like a.
No, unless someone.
This is a nice to do, right?
Yeah, I don't
we
think
don't have to do anything.
I don't think we need to vote it.
The state's not going to say.
Unless anyone
you
has
didn't
any.
do a
anyone
groundbreaking.
have any strong objections? Anything?
That's pretty thorough.
Very good. All right. Anything else for the comms team?
No, so like this kind of came up as we were discussing this, but we have been talking about like documenting construction, so we'll have to just kind of continue those conversations. And
Let's see if we can
may-
get the camera thing going. That'll be.
Yeah, and we should probably talk to Dr. Macri too, because maybe she can let us know if like there is some kind of photography, videography club at the high school, and maybe
Yeah.
that is a way that to get
That.
the high school involved too. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like
So,
that.
I'll take that as an action.
Okay. Design subcommittee.
That concludes my report.
What about the, you mentioned, Heather, you mentioned about the careers, with career opportunities for a program for kids during the construction phase? Are we gonna still do something like that?
Have some of the construction like
For, you know,
talk
like,
about.
you know.
You think any construction people on your team would be willing to talk to the kids about their role and what it means to be like a construction manager or?
like they have a club and maybe a few kids sign up and they
Yeah.
wanna go and,
Yes, absolutely.
is that something you've done before?
Yes.
I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, let
For
us
the
know
kids.
what you've done in the past.
We've done the ACES program where the students are pursuing a career in the construction industry. And, you know, we provided instruction and we actually, one of the graduates of that program now works for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that a high school program though?
Yes.
Yeah.
We did it
Oh.
at Southington High and he went on to, I think, what's that college in Rhode Island? Anyways, went to construction management,
Right.
graduated, and now he works for us.
That's awesome.
School
So that
design.
might be good even for the high schoolers, right? Doesn't have to have to be
Yeah.
middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got time
ACES
to-
program, is that what you call
Yes.
it? ACES program. Is that
A-
something
it's
that you
called the
guys?
The ACE mentorship program.
ACE mentorship program. Is that like a standard industry thing?
Architecture, construction, engineering is the
Oh,
acronym.
I gotcha. Is it, you get credit from it, or is it just like a on your own
I
type
don't
of?
know that they get credit, but it is exposure to real-world careers during high school, help people, pick their path.
Okay, awesome. I'll have to talk to someone at the high school about that.
I wonder if like we could do some kind of panel or something for the middle school. Do you think the middle schoolers would be interested in anything like that, please?
Yeah, I think we could work it through somewhere, maybe through the STEM classes or something like that.
Awesome.
Is that something you would want the comms committee to organize or or put together like another committee to kind of like organize educational opportunities?
As I look to Blaze.
That's very much outside my wheelhouse.
Yeah,
I can help with logistics. I'd be happy to be a part of it and help with the logistics, but
Let me talk to Ann and the STEM teachers and see how they would like to handle it.
Okay. So we're gonna make Blaze our.
And please, if you're interested in leading it, I would help you.
Okay.
She would hug you or help you?
See how you just got signed up for that? Did you
Yes.
see how that happened?
Sneaky.
We'll figure something out.
Okay. All right, anything else for comms? All right, Heather.
Okay, it's a long one. I apologize now.
Sorry.
So on the 24th, myself and John Post met with Lauren and Joe from Perkins Eastman to review materials and hardware to ensure that specifications were written with our preferences in mind. So I'm going to go through a list of things where no decision needs to be made because it's already kind of been made and is in the documents, but just so we have it on record. So the first thing we talked about was lockers. We have to have stacked lockers in the new school as there's not enough room for 470 plus full-length lockers in the building. The lockers will be 12 by 12 by 36 with an eye for a separate padlock, which means no integrated locks in the lockers, as the integrated locks are known to be unreliable. The gym locker room lockers will be 18 by 18 by 36, again with the eye for separate padlocks rather than integrated locks. There was a discussion the following day with Ms. Cochiola and Dr. Macri, because their wish was to have the full-size lockers in this school. Lauren did explain that without increasing the size of the building, there was not enough room to accommodate full-size lockers and maintain corridor width.
So when you say full size, you mean full height?
Full height.
The width is still the same.
So they wanted full height. And there's just not, we'd have to bump the whole building and expand our footprint to do that. So Dr. Macri and Ms. Cochiola understand that we just,
Most
we
kids
can't, we
don't
can't
even bother
accommodate it.
putting much stuff in
Right.
their
I
lockers
was going to
anymore.
say that. I feel like there was a meeting that Dr. Macri and Ms. Cochiola attended, and they said that the students don't even really use the lockers.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. So the existing lockers are stacked, and there's two different size lockers currently that the students use. One size is 14 3/4 by 14 by 35 1/4, so slightly wider and deeper. And then there's another set, I believe, in the back hallway, which is 12 inches by 11 inches by 59. So they're taller, but they're not as deep. So everyone was on the same page with that. The lockers are fine. They already had it in the specifications that it was an eye for a separate padlock, no integrated locks. So that was kind of checked off.
Do we know what the high school locker sizes are? Because Alice Kelly, planning and zoning, she was really concerned about undersized lockers because I guess they had an issue with undersized lockers at the high school.
I don't know what size they are.
Okay.
And I don't, like,
I don't know what-
undersized 20
Yeah.
years ago or
Yeah.
undersized now,
Like,
because
when you
there are
say
no more
un-
books
when
and
you say
like they don't
undersized, are you
they don't have anything.
Are
They
you
don't
talking
have
width or height too when you're talking undersized? So
Right.
then, you know,
Like, I don't know, 12 by 12, is that a normal size
yeah.
locker?
That's standard.
12
That's
inches wide
standard.
is pretty good, yeah. But again, like somebody just said, you don't use books as much as you used to anymore. So
It's just your, not even your backpacks, they carry their backpacks
Right,
around.
so
It's
maybe a
just
coat,
A coat.
Yeah.
or nothing. Let me allow them don't use
Right.
anything. So
Yeah, now it's pretty much just coats, because we let them carry the backpacks, which we've done since the pandemic. Before that, they did use them quite often, but
Yeah.
now that they're allowed to carry their backpacks, no, they don't have to carry them, but they want to.
Gotcha.
What was the height of like an individual locker? Did you say that
36
was
36.
36, so 3 feet.
it'll be two of them. So it'll be 6 feet total.
And then when they carry the backpacks around, like, do they have a little under shelf on their chair, or do they just leave it on the floor?
Not currently, we don't, because, everything's from 1954.
Yeah, yeah.
Many of the shelves are gone, but no, they just dump them underneath their desk,
Yeah.
their chair.
I don't know if that's be like a nice to have when we get to the chairs. I'm sure it's more to buy the chairs that have a little grate under it, but
Possibly depends, it depends on what kind of, because
Yeah.
you want, hopefully we get mobile desks that can be rearranged in various, so
Yeah.
anything that hampers that would,
I'm hoping the kids will just be
well, no, the
encouraged
chairs
to
would roll
put
with
use
the
the
Right.
thing
lockers.
underneath, yeah.
Like, I'm hoping they just get encouraged to use the lockers. Maybe the lockers will be nicer. They'd be encouraged to use them. Maybe they're gross now. I don't know.
I don't know.
Rusted now. I don't know.
So that's the locker story. The next thing we talked about was the specifications that called out the metal for welded frames as opposed to knockdown frames. And they are spec'd with a 20 gauge metal.
What
John
frames
says
for
that's
what?
good.
It's standard. It's standard. I just want to make sure that
Yep.
they were doing that.
Is this a frame for windows?
It's
Frame
a frame for doors, yeah.
doors?
Yeah. When you put, they're not KD, no. They're all welded frames, which is stronger. And they use 20 gauge or better studs, so, yeah, it is. So there's no deflection in the wall, so I just want to make sure that they're solid.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to a lighter gauge metal
Oh, okay.
or a knockdown frame, which is a 3-piece frame, which is more, doesn't hold up as well. So, no, we're doing it right.
Okay.
So it's just little things that I wanted to make sure that that was in the specs.
Okay. Thank you.
Current specifications as written called for removable mullion bars, which are removable by key rather than multi-point hardware or concealed rods.
Okay.
What's that?
All right, this is a double door. When you have a double door that opens, there's going to be a bar down the middle. When the door closes, it's a solid latch right in the center point of the door, basically in the center point of the door. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you have multi-point locks where it's a clear opening, no bar in the middle. We have a vertical rod that goes up and attaches, and a vertical rod that goes down and attaches. There's more that can go wrong. A lot of times, if you get any heaving in the floor or any kind of movement, you can push the door open and you lose security. So I suggested, and we talked about this at another meeting, where I wanted to have
The middle-
mullion
middle.
bars down the middle. So if you have something large that needs to go through, you have a key that you can
Take the middle
take
bar
the
out.
bar out and get
Oh,
big
okay.
things
As long
through.
as that-
So it's just
gotcha.
a solid latching point right in the center of the door. Much more reliable than multi-point locks and/or concealed rods, which are a nightmare. So,
Do you have any opinions, Ken?
again,
I can go either way. My only reservation
It's
about
from
it would be
experience.
in the hallways where I think the doors are on hold opens. It's just, there could be a bottleneck in those hallways, just because now you have a bar in the middle that kids have to walk around. I don't know. It's more durable having that there. I'm sure the Board of Ed in the town would be happy to have that.
So that's interesting. So doors that normally stay open, what doors would normally stay open for us? The ones into the academic wings
Yeah.
during the day?
And I would concur with Ken, where you have an interior door, you can do a multi-point lock with no bar in the middle.
Because they're always going to be
automatic
open for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
You're just talking about the exterior
You
doors.
lose that bar down the middle. Exterior doors, I want them to be secure,
Okay.
where they have a nice solid latch.
So from a security standpoint, though, would you still want that latch issue for those interior doors?
Like I said, Ken said,
Well,
either way.
they have to latch.
Right, for fire.
But mostly our clients prefer to have the bar. Every once in a while, we'll have one that would rather just have a wide opening. I don't know, it's really client preference.
What would be your preference for the interior doors?
I hate seeing those bars.
Yeah.
He's an architect. I totally get it, though. I totally get it.
I kind of feel that way too for the interior ones, especially if they're always going to be open.
Yeah. Right. I
And you're
agree.
just going to close them for like if there's an event or something, or if there's a issue. From a durability standpoint, I feel like they're going to be a lot less wear than like obviously the ones
Right.
exterior doors where they're opening closing all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So definitely agree for the middle bars for the exterior doors.
It makes sense.
the current specifications as written already call for aluminum exterior doors on storefront walls to have continuous hinges.
That's good.
Yeah, that's,
You want that?
we want that.
Before you go on, is that something the committee wants us to adjust in the document?
I thought it already had it.
Removable mullions on every door.
Right now,
Oh.
Joe, you have removable mullions on every door?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're asking if we should do that, change the interior doors?
Yeah.
Correct.
So, Joe, is it our assumption that those are on hold opens accurate?
Yes, that's correct. So first corridor doors would be on hold open. And actually, I think we have the stair doors on hold open as
Yeah,
well.
they should be, yeah, on a fire alarm.
So, since this is a change. oh,
Since there's so few openings that would need to change, we could probably bid it as is. The dollars for the removable mullion are probably sufficient to buy the vertical rod devices. So it's something that we can adjust when the shop drawings come in. I don't think, or we could do it as an addendum or something.
I just
like
want to
that.
make sure that the drawings are accurate and that we don't put them in without, when we didn't want them in, or vice versa.
Well, I think we should take care of it now in an addendum if we can. I would leave the vertical bar at the stairs, I think. I don't know, Joe, what do you think?
I could go either way as well. I see the maintenance, long-term maintenance issue, but it would be better not to have the bar just for ease of passageway.
Right, maybe in like the auditorium and the gym where you have a large quantity of people rushing through, remove those bars at those spots. And in the hallways where you're blocking off Main Street.
Yeah, so the auditorium doors, the gymnasium doors, cafeteria doors, basically all the interior doors then?
Well, I don't know. I feel like the ones that are going into rooms, you can have the vertical bar because
Right.
people, you're not getting a massive amount of people going
Right.
through those,
Okay.
going into the room, where in the hallways, you're going to have kids running through it trying to get to class.
With backpacks.
Are these bars an added cost?
They cost something, but
They're,
But like,
probably-
did the
they're
original
probably
plan
about the same.
assume we're gonna have bars?
yeah, the original did, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a wash between that and the vertical rod systems are very expensive too, so.
So you probably, per opening, vertical rods or the removable mullion are probably somewhere comparable
Yeah.
in net cost per opening. So it's probably not gonna, it's not a real deal changer budget-wise. But from a maintenance standpoint, I agree with John, something that can have something to latch against instead of relying on the rods, especially your exterior doors, gives you, a maintenance advantage.
Okay,
But we should make the decision now so that we're not
Yeah.
dealing with change orders later.
yeah.
I agree.
Jack, is that what the vertical rod is, like what
Yes.
we have there?
These are double vertical rods, up
So,
and down.
is there a difference between a vertical rod and a removable mullion?
Mullion,
Mullion,
as far as what?
like, are they different things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
One's for
Yeah.
permanent
If you-
and one's removable.
Rosanna, if you look over here, these have the vertical rods.
So the doors can easily open.
They open
And
and there's
nothing is in
nothing
the
in
middle.
between them.
It's
It's
a
that
clear
bar
6-foot
that
opening,
latches it.
top, bottom.
Oh, that top thing?
That, the vertical,
The two
The two
sil-
metal.
The silver rods.
Oh, yeah.
The silver rod sit into some kind of opening in the frame
Yeah.
to act like a.
The difference being long-term maintenance. If you have a removable mullion, nothing ever happens to them. If you need to have double access for supplies or
Yeah.
something, they're easily removed. The rods are always open and exposed. Kids grab them, bang into them. Like you said, you get a little shifting
Right.
of your doors. They don't latch properly. I've dealt with them for years. They
Well,
are
you
a
can
maintenance
get them.
nightmare.
You can get them installed inside the door though too.
That's even worse.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
There's
So-
no-
Those are the ones I like.
So the question,
They look
Yeah, 'cause you
fantastic.
don't have to fix
Oh,
it.
my God. Please.
so I think for doors that are normally kept open and you have a constant flow, like entrance into the academic wings, I think having just a space is better. I don't
Yeah, 'cause
have
you could
a,
tuck the rods, like where you have the door always
Yeah, I
open,
guess.
you could tuck the rods inside against the wall, so there should never be anyone pulling or touching it, right?
No, the rods
No,
are on
they'll
the-
be
the rods
exposed.
are on the end of the doors. There is, it's called a surface
They're always on
mounted
the inner
vertical
side.
rod.
That's what those metal pieces.
They're
are
always on
there.
that inner side when you open the door. It's always facing
Yeah.
when you open it.
Well,
You can
when
see, you can see them right on this door.
we could see them, but if the doors were always propped open, I'm saying if the doors were propped open against the.
Right, but
Yeah,
imagine
right.
propping those doors open.
Yeah, I'm propping those
Yeah,
doors
but
open.
Matt,
Right, but
it-
now
it
the
dep-
bars
it-
are going to be exposed.
Because this room is really big. I
It
wasn't
depends
sure if
on
it
which
just hit
side of the
cord.
door
Yeah.
you're trying to keep people
That's
out
all.
of.
True.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, you know, the public side versus the secure side.
It'll be
So-
installed to the side where your panic hardware is.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay. Anyways.
Yeah.
And the
Anyway,
push
So,
side.
and then for the cafeteria, gymnasium, and auditorium, I don't think it matters. I would go with, I guess, whatever's less maintenance.
Less maintenance would be the mullion bar.
Because the gym doors are going to open and close, open and close. They're not going to stay
Yeah.
open or close. Same thing with auditorium.
So
So,
keep those clear openings then.
Well, yeah, and you can think about it, those cafeteria, auditorium, gym, those spaces are going to be used a ton.
yeah.
So we want something that's durable there.
Durable,
Then you
yeah.
want to go back to mullion.
So maybe just the vertical in the
So
in the
just,
hallways.
In the hallways, yeah.
just the vertical, yeah.
Vertical rods.
Vertical rods in the entranceways to the
So
academic
from
wings.
Main Street to the academic wings,
Yeah,
vertical rods, okay.
yeah. So do we need to vote on making that change to the drawings? Or do we just tell,
Do you need to vote? Just,
don't need to vote?
Perkins will pick it up before. we
Okay,
go to
Joe,
You
you
got
got it?
Including the stairwell, vertical
I
rods.
think-
No.
I think
No.
so. So vertical rods, that's one I didn't get, was the stairs, or those vertical rods, or the movable mullions?
The stair doors stay closed usually, don't they?
The
Well, he
stair-
says they're on hold opens.
The stairs?
Yeah, you usually see those on hold open.
Yeah, and they're on a magnet
But
that's tied into the fire
Aren't
alarm.
I thought the stairwells aren't like
Exactly.
Mhm.
heated or whatever, like, is
No,
the-
they're
Oh,
heated.
yeah.
They're heated? Oh.
They're on a magnet that's, if the fire alarm goes off, they release and they close.
Okay.
I have a suggestion. Why don't you just make all the doors that have magnetic hold opens without the mullion?
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
good. Makes the hardware
That's-
guy's
That
job
makes
easier.
perfect sense.
That makes perfect sense. Did you catch that, Joe? Everything with okay. Fantastic. And we don't have, obviously, any of those in the exterior door, right? None of them have magnetic hold opens?
No.
Okay.
Do we have the removable one in Cromwell schools now? Do you think? People know how to use them, I guess. I just
Oh,
don't
yeah,
want to get in a
they're common.
situation
Oh,
that
no,
like they're
it's-
pulling in sets and they're like, oh, we can't get the set in because of this bar.
Can
And
the key?
Nobody
Yeah, can
knows
the
how to
key be
take
the
it
same
out.
one as the
It's,
door key?
it's,
Custodians
it's only,
will know what
it's
to do.
only, yeah, no, they're easy. It's-
Okay.
Custodial staff has them. and-
Is it like a
Yeah.
standard key that opens up everything? It's
on
not
the
like
master
a.
key. They're
yeah.
on the master key.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
okay, perfect.
I don't think they're like. They're like suitcase
side.
keys, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That you lose.
So
You
that's,
lose
that's
the
good though. I like
yeah.
that. Just,
Yeah, imagine like a lost key, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
so Joe, doors with magnetic hold opens will get vertical rods only. Is that good?
Okay,
That makes sense?
yes, got it.
So like Main Street to the wings and
Stairs.
stairwells.
All right. We got more lists. Let's go.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Continuous hinges. I don't know if John, you want to speak
Good.
to that?
Yeah,
Good.
we just talked about
Okay.
that. We're good with that.
The current specifications call for a recessed floor mat system inside the vestibules between the main entrance and the Board of Ed entrance. So that eliminates the need for any entryway rugs or anything like that. It's all just integrated into the floor. It's easy to clean, easy to maintain.
Is it easy to clean?
Yeah, I guess it just pops out and they can vacuum right in it.
Clean it up. Yeah, clean it up.
I just had a client last week ask that the design be changed and that the recessed mats be taken out.
Really?
That they would rather use the surface, loose mats instead of having the big recessed mats.
Because it's easier to get in there and clean?
Because depending on the type of mat, they're difficult to get up and clean under. And they have a service where they just have the rubber backed carpet type of mats. And they come in, they swap them out, they bring in clean ones, they haul the old, the dirty ones away.
Do we have a service like that now?
So I don't know what your,
no idea.
No,
what your
and I don't
standard
think
is
anyone
in
wants to
town.
add that cost to the Board of Ed budget to have
Well,
Rug
you're
serviced.
saying In lieu of paying for someone to come in and bring the vacuum to the floor.
Well, I mean, you
have
could
someone
service
drop
them
it.
yourself. There are, and they do wear out eventually, so you're
Oh.
replacing them every so many years. The difficulty is that I think in this one particular incident, now it's a high school and it's fairly large, but the delta was like $100,000 to install recessed mats. And they said, well, we'll spend the $100,000 elsewhere. Just give me a flat floor, and the operations director says, I'll buy loose mats. Or you're going to buy me loose mats, one set when we move into the building, and I'll just handle that out of operating costs, put the $100,000 into something else. But again, that was a large school, much larger than this. But
So,
Joe, can you speak to the system that you've spec'd out? Is this going to be one that's
Right.
difficult for them to pull out to clean?
Is it already in the budget?
yeah, is this already part of the budget, or would
if
this
it's
be
on
an
the
added
drawings,
cost?
it's in the estimate, or it'll be in the estimate.
Yeah, this was not something we asked for. This is just.
Well, I recall seeing, I swear I recall seeing something in the ed spec about it.
That spec?
I thought so.
How would they spec out recessed
So I
floor?
haven't installed a recessed mat in 20 years.
Let me see. I'll check it while y'all talk about it.
All right, we'll pause on that one.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. The current specifications we just clarified call for magnetic whiteboards and not whiteboard paint. So we're good on that. We also discussed the pass-through window system for the front office. So the current design has this window on the wall prior to entering the first set of doors into the vestibule. So that window is actually like on the outside of the school under the awning where it's protected. And it will be a hopper style window. So it'll be flush with the wall, and the opening will be by the office. And if somebody needs to drop something off or hand in paperwork, front office will push that window out. It'll then open to the outside and seal the inside, so there's no
Draft.
hand exchange or draft or anything like that. It's kind of secure. A parent can drop in, their child's medication they have to drop off. And now it's open to the office and closed to the outside. This was done because in order to integrate a window in the office, it meant almost eliminating the whole waiting room, because they would have to redesign everything and have enough wall space and then have staff where they can get to it. So we did meet with Dr. Macri and Ms. Cogiola on this, and they are satisfied with the design. They're happy with it. It should work for their workflows.
On the, I'm just trying to visualize, on the inside, it's like secure in the sense that there's like adults, like there's not a way for students to access that window on the inside, right? I don't know if we have like a counter or something.
No, it's like behind the counter.
Okay. Like with a desk or something.
And I don't even know that staff would normally be sitting there. It would
Okay.
be the type of thing where a parent would ring the buzzer. They would answer the buzzer. Oh, I have to drop off medication. Okay, let me go open the window for you.
Okay.
They can go around,
Okay.
open the window, get it, close it. And that way you don't even have people in the vestibule who don't need to be there.
Okay. Great.
They're on camera because the camera's right in
Set
that
up.
corner and secure.
Great.
So it seemed to work well with everybody.
I'll just mention that I didn't see anything in here about the flooring, but they did mention that in the administrative areas, there should be wall-to-wall carpeting. Just putting that out there.
Okay.
What?
Thank you for that tidbit. Perkins Eastman did advise us. John had a question about quality control, and that is on Newfield Construction. It's their responsibility for that, so it's not Perkins Eastman. Just a note. Joe Culata was still looking for district feedback on preferred or unwanted vendors and manufacturers for things like rooftop units, alarm systems, etc. It advised Joe that he should email Dr. Macri, as Miss St. John had resigned, and I wasn't sure who the contact would be to get those answers for him. So he was going to follow up with Dr. Macri.
Talking about vendors or manufacturers?
Both.
Manufacturers.
Oh, I thought it was vendors as well.
I thought we had skinned that cat a long time ago.
I don't think we got a full picture on that.
The Peter people mad at me now.
So that's where that is, because I'm not sure who in the district would hold those answers.
Yeah, we had started that conversation, but there was a lot of kind of open-ended items that were not sure at the time.
Okay, thank you.
So we specified our standard well-known manufacturers, the quality manufacturers, but there should be some additional follow-up before we go out to bid.
Well, not to take too much of a rabbit trail, but you did get answers on things like building management systems and such that are kind of key items. I think CES got all the answers that they needed for equipment, correct?
I think so, but I think one final check by the district would be good.
Okay.
It's basically what we're asking for.
Again, you got a good starting point. You're using people that you and your design team feel confident with, so we shouldn't be at too much peril.
So why don't we just
Right.
share what you've included in your documents and see if they have any issues with those,
I mean,
rather than
the
just
question
ask
is
them.
now, if Melinda resigned, to whom do we send that?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know who in the district would
Who's interim?
know those answers. So, I can, if Joe hits a roadblock, I can certainly help, but my direction was to have him reach out to Dr. Macri as a starting point to
Yep.
see.
Yeah.
We do have an interim as this time, it's Mike Moe, he's helping out.
Don't know.
Okay,
So he can,
okay,
put you in the right direction.
okay. All right, so if Joe emails Enza, then Enza can forward. Okay, perfect. Next, I asked Joe to confirm with Richter and Segan where the dinosaur footprint and memorial bench will go to ensure they are incorporated into all the construction plans so that they get preserved. I did confirm with Dr. Macri and Ms. Cochiola that the small tree that is right behind the bench is not connected to the bench. So there's no significance there.
Okay, so it's not part of the memorial.
No. So we only need to worry about the bench and the dinosaur footprint. So we just need to make sure those get staged somewhere and then put back on the site without getting ruined.
Did you catch that, Joe?
Yes, we call for those to be salvaged, and we show the location where they be relocated, but again, we'd like to just confirm that with the district and the committee, and to the final places that those be placed.
Yep.
Okay.
Current specifications call for a machine roomless traction system elevator as opposed to a hydraulic system elevator. And John was satisfied with that.
Yeah, Joe suggested that because we only have 2 floors, I mean, we don't need to go crazy with the elevator. We should be fine.
It's pretty much the standard offering these days.
Yeah.
There was this discussion on batting cages, and John is still working with Joe on this. An issue with the ceiling height and not being able to accommodate the lift up, and it's beyond my
It was the
level of
length, yeah.
expertise.
Joe,
Length.
as you said you couldn't fit a 70-foot batting cage, the width-wise of the gym, correct?
Right.
So,
I was just waiting to hear.
Turn it lengthwise, they conflict with the divider curtains.
Right.
The 2 teaching spaces.
Did you find out what size we?
If we could get,
Did you find out what size we could do?
so I know they have 55-foot batting cages, but I haven't had the chance to follow up.
Oh, okay.
To see if that fits and confirm with the athletics director.
Yeah, if that works, we can take that back to athletics and see if they're okay with that.
So they have the batting cages outside. Is there a reason?
The ones out, those are Little League. Those
Are they
those
smaller?
Little League. You know, I've been meaning to go over there and
They
actually
seem
measure
very
them.
big to me. They're like full.
The other thing, though,
Size
it's nice to have it inside,
It is,
so that we're not having to go rent space out of like ATI.
right. And this is for the Scholastic baseball team, not for the Little League affiliated baseball team too, so.
But if we can't get the full-sized one, is it worth getting the smaller one?
Well, that's what I want to find out, what size. If, you said 55, Joe?
6.
Or
Yeah,
6?
I know that's one of the other standard sizes.
Okay.
But we still have to check to see if that's fit.
And once we know, we'll go to, what is his name? Coach, I forget the baseball coach's name.
Penny?
Well, Penny Scott, yeah, Scott's the
Anino.
gym teacher. Panino, or Anino.
Yeah.
Anino, yeah.
And
Once
we
we
have-
find out, I'll ask him if that's sufficient, and then we'll go from there.
We have batting cages at the high school and at WIS, is that correct? That was my
I
understanding.
think there are batting cages.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's batting cages at the high school and
And WIS, I believe.
I don't know about WIS.
That's what I was told.
Yeah,
I thought there was, too.
I know they're at the high school,
Okay.
You're saying indoor?
outdoor.
Oh, right, outdoor.
But not indoor, right?
Not that I know of.
So more to come.
Yeah.
So the rest of the things on my list are things that we need to recommend changes to. So the first was we had a discussion about concealed hinges versus offset pin hinges. And John's recommendation was offset pin hinges as they're stronger.
Again.
Not my wheelhouse.
No. I've seen those, they call them European concealed hinges, and there's so many moving parts on these things, they break. And nothing personal, Blaze, but teachers like to overstuff some of these cabinets, and they try to push them closed, and they snap, and those pin hinges are just much stronger. We use them at another school that we just did, and they're fantastic. So you just see the thing on the outside, that's all.
You see the pin, right?
Yeah, that's all. It's not a big deal, but it's just a much stronger hinge, that's all. Just little things that,
Does it change the configuration of the cabinets or how
No.
many cabinets you can put in or anything like that?
not at all. No.
So it's just a cosmetic thing?
It's just, it's just what type of hinge you
It's
use,
a
that's all.
construction detail, and they are
Yeah.
much more durable.
Yeah.
Are they cheaper?
Those European, the concealed hinges aren't cheap,
I
so
would say probably they are,
they might
too.
actually be cheaper
Yeah.
to use the conventional style.
Well, I'm good with that.
Yep.
They're
Okay.
easier to live with.
Yep.
Okay, so everyone's good with using offset. Okay, Joe, do you have that then? Offset pin hinges?
Yeah, we adjusted the spec for that already.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the next discussion we had was a pretty lengthy one about bleachers. So right now, the plastic benches in the specifications, well, at this time, were specified as major manufacturers. The current capacity is designed at 203 people based on an 18-inch allotment per occupant. If we use the mold, so some of the bleacher, the red that you saw in the images, some of them actually have like molds for the seats. And we were worried twofold. One, you can't really squeeze more kids into a line because then they're sitting on a hump, or it's awkward, right? And the second piece is John wanted to make sure with those molded that you're not introducing more hardware and mechanisms that can then break, because these bleachers are going to
I
get
don't
used
think
and abused.
We need humps.
Right. So our recommendation was to have, was for them to look for a vendor. We looked at Hussey, Irwin, and Hahn, and Lauren was going to do a little more research to find the seats that go on top of the wood that's just a straight shot bench.
Flat.
I mean, don't they, I would think that's like typical.
Yeah, Irwin makes them. Intercal is another one. I can give you the spec if you need it.
Yeah, they're both in the spec, and I believe we replaced Chucky, but I'm not sure what who.
I think Hussey makes them too, the regular ones.
Why don't we just have
So you
plain
just-
wood?
You just want a you
Aren't
want
bleachers
a
usually
flat
just-
seating surface, that's the bottom line.
They want the color.
Yes,
I would
but
love-
a continuous,
Did we agree on the
continuous.
I don't think we agreed on the color.
Roseanne, I agree with you with just a plain wood bench, too. I mean, I know we
Yeah,
used the
I don't know
color,
why
but-
we didn't. I'm just going
We-
based on the design where they already had
So
the
we
red.
didn't, we didn't agree to put the red on the bleachers yet. We didn't agree to the colors in the gymnasium.
We didn't really have a discussion.
Right. So I'm saying.
I just happened, when we were talking about bleachers and going through it, I just
I'm just
didn't want to
saying-
have the molded.
What? Don't our bleachers typically aren't they just wood right now? Bleachers
I
we
don't-
sit on?
That's kind of like old school.
It is.
Old school? Is that
Wood
wood
bleachers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not change that now.
Like not put wood?
No.
So we'd have to put some color on the bleachers?
Well, the plastic seating is molded in a, molded through with a solid color.
And you'd get a
Go,
plastic
go look
seat.
at go look at the wood bleachers at the at town hall or the middle school now and see how nice they are.
They're worn out.
They're pretty nasty.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. All the seats, all the pictures had red.
Oh, they all have.
Yes.
Just, yeah,
Varying
yeah.
versions
I think we were
of red.
mostly talking about the logo and some of the other stuff, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And are these retractable?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't. We
They're
didn't.
retractable, right?
The bleachers, yes.
We have to
Yes.
redefine Cromwell red.
Yes, that's, yes. So the recommendation that we are making, which I believe Joe already put into the documents, was to not have any sort of seat molds or breaks on that plastic, so
Yeah,
that we
just
can.
straight plastic.
Okay.
So have it a
perfect.
plastic bench seat, so you still
Yeah.
get the color.
Yeah,
You
but
still get
but
something
not
that looks
no.
nice.
Yeah,
no,
so they have a
Right.
plastic bench that's 18
Right.
inches, and then when they need to fill in between them, there's a molded piece that fits in between them. That's almost identical,
Wait,
but there would
what?
be no humps in it.
Yeah.
No, I believe this was like a
No,
continuous.
just a plain plastic.
was too.
It was
straight
continuous.
Plastic.
So it's not individual seats. It's just a continuous piece that goes on the bleacher.
Just a bench, a plastic bench.
Bleacher pole or something, yeah.
Topping,
Yes.
bench
Yeah.
topping, cover.
Yes.
That's-
Next item.
Okay. The next was door hardware. So John recommended blocked or through bolted rather than installed with self-tapping fasteners.
That's just, here's the thing, if we're doing a school that has no door closers on the classroom doors, these doors are gonna be free swinging. God, it's the third time I've done that. These doors are gonna be free swinging. So somebody's gonna open a door, it's gonna go flying, it's gonna hit the bumper on the wall. If those bumpers aren't reinforced, that bumper's going right through the sheetrock.
Right.
I've seen it 100 times. So all I'm asking is that we reinforce any of the door stops, and also any of the door hardware that goes on the door is not just put in with self-tap screws. It's either through bolted or the door is blocked with solid wood, so that screw, you know what I'm talking about. So it's on there securely.
These doors aren't typically solid wood.
It's called particle core. Some spots need more blocking. A solid piece of wood at the header where some doors have closers, it needs to be blocked, or it needs to be through bolted so the screw can't pull out. So yeah, you can't just. It just needs to be reinforced.
They're not
that's all.
hollow.
They're not hollow.
They're like
no.
composite. They're like
It's a composite,
like
yeah.
particle board type of thing.
But a lot of times when you order a door, you can order it blocked for panic hardware, blocked for closer. So they're
I'm
done.
fine
It
with
just,
that.
it's reinforced with solid wood
Right.
instead of particle
Yeah,
board
yeah.
where
Right.
you need to fasten
Yep.
something.
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Because particle
Pretty
board
standard.
crumbles and screw
Yeah,
pulls
yeah,
out
yeah. I
eventually.
don't want that.
Check that box. So next we had a discussion about glazing on interior doors. So this is the window panel on the interior doors. Perkins Eastman found that there was no advantage to using hinge side windows as opposed to windows centered on the door. They thought that aesthetically it looked better to have the window in the center, and it also removes the possibility of doors being hung incorrectly on install, because whoever's installing it is going to think we made a mistake and hang them backwards anyway.
Yeah.
'Cause nobody
Um,
puts door lights on.
So as long as we're okay with that, Perkins Eastman will make that change for the center
So the
window.
reason why they wanted the windows on the hinge side was to get it far from the doorknob, right?
Right.
But but then people wouldn't be able to see who's really coming in without like.
You gotta look around.
You'd have to, so there's pros and cons to that.
Right. And the window where it is, she showed us images too. Like if you have like the library doors. So right now the windows are on the door handle side. Well, if we put them on the opposite side when you're looking at that door, it just looks really funny to have the windows not centered.
Yeah.
And like on the on the outside.
Are
it's
these
just
double
very-
pane glass?
No.
I
No.
don't believe so.
Is it like thick glass? Like, is it easily penetrable glass or no?
Tempered laminated glass. It's extremely hard to put your fist through it.
Yeah, I think it's
can't
whatever
put
the
this through it, right?
standard is. But even the size of it,
Right.
I don't know. Joe, do you know the size of the dimensions of the window and the doors?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The dimensions of the windows on the doors.
How wide is the slot?
Yeah, how wide is the window?
Oh, it's 3 inches wide by 33.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Oh,
That's
it's
just
skinny.
under 100
Right.
square inches, so.
It's like
So
that
the
wide?
the options are hinge side, door handle side, or center side.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Center.
do we get a recommendation not to do the door handle side?
I think administration didn't want the typical door handle side for safety concerns.
Oh, they
Okay.
want in the center.
So then what happened was we put it over to the hinge side, and it just looks very
Yeah, it looks-
awkward. So then we could compromise is to put it right in the center for all of them.
And that's
And the
better
way
than
the window,
over the handle.
yeah, the way the window is, if you were to get a hand in,
It's
you don't have
tiny.
enough of a radius to even
You're not
turn
getting-
and reach
Well,
it.
and 3 inches is.
Yeah.
You're not getting through that. You're
You
gonna
got
cut
a
your arm and try to.
36-inch door with a 3-inch hole, you have to be able
You're
to
not-
get in
yeah.
and reach 18 inches.
Yeah.
Pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
I like that. Center's good.
Okay.
3 by
Everyone good with
33
that?
standard.
All right.
Good.
Okay, Joe. Center windows.
Thanks, Joe.
You catch that, Joe?
Joe's got a big addendum.
Yeah, is that like a special order or?
No.
They make them all to order anyway.
So all ready to shop.
Okay, so that was it for the meeting with Perkins Eastman, myself, and John. And then the following day, I had a conversation with Joe Culata about some of the interior renderings. And we agreed that right now the focus of Perkins Eastman should be to get the documents in order and finalized so that we stayed on schedule. Documents specify the types of materials like LVT versus porcelain tile or tile versus epoxy in the bathrooms, that sort of thing. And a general color palette, but it does not get too specific because the bidders can present packages with different manufacturers of products. So if we say LVT, there could be 4 different manufacturers of LVT that are included in the bid package. Once bids have come in and we know what manufacturer we will be using, we can then go look at that particular manufacturer to specify this exact color we want, and then their renderings can be a little more focused. So there was no additional development since last time so that they could focus on just what they needed to, and then we'll continue our efforts.
Okay, excellent.
Can I just ask one question on that? But should we kind of, I understand like the waiting for bids to come in to pick specific colors, but I think I walked out of the last meeting thinking that we didn't really have like a clear, cohesive
Palette.
vision for the school or a palette. It felt like we kind of had 2. So will we still, once I understand that we got to get the construction documents in order, but will we revisit those discussions before
Yes.
we go out to bid?
Yeah, I believe for next meeting, Joe, right? You'll have some additional?
You had mentioned that.
Okay.
Yes, that's the plan, is to meet with the design subcommittee again before the next building committee meeting and refine the rendering and then come to a consensus for a recommendation at the next building committee of what the color direction is. And I think what Heather's been saying,
Okay.
we've seen it in the past where we have to specify 3 different manufacturers because it's a public bid, and where we set the color of a certain green or a certain red, and one of the other manufacturers will have a slightly different colors, and then we'll have to adjust stuff once we get all the samples in during construction. So there'll be a refinement at that point as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't, we weren't even in a position for refinement, I felt like, coming out of the last meeting.
No,
So
and
I understand though.
I agree. There's a lot of work that has to be done to get us back on track. But their focus needed to be on getting the documents, so we stayed on our timeline. So we kind of just backburnered this for the last 2 weeks. So that will be coming back. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was that in the meeting I had with Ms. Cochiola and Dr. Macri on the 25th, it was somebody had asked that we preserve the current Falcon that's in the middle of the gym floor at CMS and possibly mount it somewhere in the new school. So I had reached out to Perkins Eastman for some possible design options for the design subcommittee to review prior to bringing it to the full committee. Joe advised that because gym floors are essentially floating, once they cut that circle, it's like trying to keep toothpicks together,
So
right?
I could speak to this. I just went through this where a university wanted to save their old gym floor. First off, there's probably toxic materials underneath the thing.
I didn't even think about that.
Right. So we don't want to be paying to abate a floor to hang it up on a wall. But Joe's right. When you take it apart, it's going to be like little sticks. I don't think it's worth saving.
Yep. So, in
Well,
addition,
how about we take a photo of it and then enlarge a photo and frame it for them, and they can put it in their office.
So that was one of the things. So again, we did not receive any other input from Perkins on how we could possibly do this. I don't think it's something to waste our time, effort, and budget on. I think aesthetically it may look a little off too, because the Falcon isn't the right color and it's not the same logo. So I don't know that it would have meaning for anyone other than a possible handful of people. But to preserve it, Perkins did have a conversation with administration on what they were going to salvage from the building, like the plaque, the building plaque that when the school was built. So my thought was maybe we can put together a shadow box of some sort where they can take a picture of the gym floor, a picture of the old school, and the plaque, and kind of have that mounted in the office or administration suite as a kind of a reminder of the first CMS.
That reminds me, I wonder if it'd be good to take a video walkthrough of the building after it's all like emptied out, just as like a time capsule. Just remember, like people want to remember what the building looked like, and then just throw it on YouTube. So that
Have you ever seen a building right after the move out?
completely empty.
I don't think no.
Yeah, it'll look like Chernobyl.
Anything but empty.
Okay, maybe not before the move out. Maybe the last day of
And-
school.
well, even now it looks like Chernobyl.
But maybe that's a good CMS news project.
Yeah, maybe that's a good CMS news
Okay.
project.
The staff would like us to do a fundraising raffle to be the first person to drive the bulldozer into the wall. So I think
We'd
could
make
get-
a lot of money.
We'd make a lot of money.
Everybody. I think there might be some EH&S issues with that.
Well, you know, you could do the before after books. Like they have like, Vegas then and now. So you could do like, they have to take the pictures over this next year while it's still, being lived in and taught in.
Yeah.
And then maybe wait a year until 2 years till the new school is ready and take some pictures, so.
So we can ask the, who do we ask?
I'll ask Doug Kiss, does the CMS News.
All right, so that was it for my list. So the only thing we have to loop back to is the recess floor mat systems.
Yeah.
And
Just
I
make sure
don't-
they understand the maintenance.
Yeah, I
And
can
everything.
certainly reach out.
What does
I
what does
mean-
Cromwell have? I mean, what does Middletown have?
A little bit of both. I really don't. I really don't have any much knowledge of what is better or what's not.
Do you have experience with this recess?
Experience with it. I know with the floor mats, a lot of times a lot of moisture gets trapped under those things, and I've had to replace VCT because of damage from moisture. That's the only thing I can say about floor mats. As long as they're, removed.
Like, are there
on a regular
drains in
basis.
that recessed thing? Like, that you can just like wash it down and it just drains out?
I don't,
Or like
I think
snow
it's
comes in and it
self-contained.
drains in, or just sit there and like gathers mold and
evaporates
dust?
away. I don't know of them being drained.
Is this like a grate? I'm not. This isn't like.
It's a grate
recessed.
and it falls through.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
And then you just take the grate out and remove the dust
Debris,
and dirt.
yeah.
Debris, yeah.
Should we reach out to Dr. Macri and get input on custodial staff on what they've seen, what they've used, what their preference is?
Yeah.
Probably
I mean,
not.
I'm not in a position
have you have
to
experience
speak to
with
it
stuff?
either way.
I haven't put one in 20 years.
A recessed floor thing?
Yeah.
Because it's not, there's low functionality or high maintenance, what
I,
aesthetics?
I think they look terrible and they're noisy.
Now, were they putting a metal grate over it, or one of those rubber, thick rubber?
Or they make tiles like they're basically like a carpet tile that could be a walk-off mat too. I don't know what your experience is, Joe, with other products.
Yeah, we've done the recessed walk-off mat, we've done the kind of tiles that you're talking about, that's like a more rubber tile that gets inset into the floor, and we've done a replaceable ones that get washed or get thrown out at the end of the school year. So we've seen it all three ways, so whichever way the committee and the district.
And almost every time we'll put in. There's almost always one of those roll-up ones come in after the fact.
Roll-up rug?
Because they want more distance, as walk-off
Yeah.
distance to clean your feet.
Yeah. And they're probably cheaper than this recessed flooring thing.
The service to replace the mat once every couple of weeks can't be crazy, I would imagine.
What were we talking about? Definitely we'd want one right for the main, are we just limiting it to the main entry? Was
Yeah,
the
it's
town-
just in the main vestibule going into the
Into
Main
Main
Street
Street,
and then also into Board of Ed
Oh.
in their vestibule
Ken?
as well.
I've had experience with both. I happen to like the recessed ones. I've seen it with like tri-panels. You just pull the panels up, they can take them outside, hose them down, vacuum out the recess. They take a lot more dirt and debris off the thing than any type of mat I've ever seen. And mats, if they're not maintained, you create an enormous trip hazard. They start to lift off the floor and the kids come in and trip all over themselves. So I like the recess.
Is it an actual grate that goes over it, or is it like a rubber mat or something?
I've seen it with like a grate with little like 1/4-inch openings and then some type of a rough material on the grating. So it's almost like you scrape your feet on it, you go in.
They're like
and
those
you're right.
grates you walk through at the grocery store and makes all that noise when you roll your cart over it. That's what those are.
But you're only talking a couple times a day where you have the ingress and egress. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a question for Dr. Macri.
All right, I'll follow up with an email to her.
Is that it?
That was enough.
That's more enough. Thank you for that.
Can we ask other, like, I have a few random design questions.
Yes.
Dr. Perkins Eastman.
Joe, do you have any update that you want to verbally provide?
Not really, other than that we issued construction documents and that they're in the third-party reviewer's hands. And we're currently still on schedule, at least design-wise. So I think retail will have an update on the early procurement package, and we'll have the PCR. I believe Jack is still scheduled for mid-September, right?
Yep. You have to go through phase 2 approvals first, right? September 12th and 13th. Okay. All right. What, Shannon has questions.
Okay. My first question was, I wanted to circle back. I know we had a discussion about the rain garden. We had reduced the fence height from 6 feet to 4 feet, but I remember we had an ask out to landscape architects about other potential barrier options. I wanted to see if anything came of that.
We haven't followed up on that yet. I'll talk to Richard Deegan and see if we get something for the design subcommittee meeting.
Okay.
May I ask a question related to that? Maybe it's obvious. There's going to be a gate to get into this, or not?
The rain garden? Is there a gate in the rain garden? There is.
Okay. So, okay, just when we're thinking,
Yeah.
oh, the 4 foot, 6 foot would be a barrier.
For maintenance.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought if we were talking about if the students want to go in there and learn and study.
No.
We could have that dual use if the district wants that.
Yeah, so the I think it was at our last meeting when we discussed it, was that the fence was to, if it was a safety for students because
case it
there
rained.
possibly could be water, but we had also asked about
What was the
Joe, you were gonna work with, oh my gosh, I'm blanking, on no, the environmental
Vegan.
and the environmental
SLR.
SLR, because they were going to tell us how, like, what
The
would
depth,
be
right.
the amount of rain and what would be the amount of water in there for the 100-year storm, the 50-year storm, and the 25-year storm, so we could have an idea of like what we were dealing with.
Right.
So we thought that could help us.
Yeah, hold on, let me check. I think I might have got a response to that. Hold on.
Yeah, while you look for that, that's the only reason why I was thinking if the gate gets you the best of both worlds, it's usually locked except when it's appropriate for kids to go in there and study, not during the 100-year storm, and then lock it at other times. Does that make sense? Maybe at the gate, then you get
Yeah.
the best of both worlds.
Can we share it?
Yeah.
Oh. Is that gonna reach?
This one barely reaches. It might reach for her.
Oh yeah, Shannon, Jessica's.
Thank you. That was not a good plan.
Okay, I found it. So Rock said that it'll be about 3.7 feet after the highest 100-year storm would be the amount of water that's in the basin.
3 feet 7 inches.
3.7 feet, so just
Oh.
over 3.5 feet.
Yeah, 3, 8.
Or almost 3.8-ish.
Did he provide a 10-year storm?
After the 100-year storm.
That's
He didn't provide the 10-year amount. He just did the max amount.
So a hurricane comes by. You get 3.5 feet of water. I don't think anyone's gonna go back out there. That's okay. All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to check in. I know after we had planning and zoning, we had like 7 letters from town officials with all different conditions. I was curious, did all of that make it into the construction documents?
I believe we picked up all the items from the letters that we received. We still have not received the official planning and zoning letter with all the conditions as part of that. I believe that's supposed to come out this week.
I have not received it either.
Is that something we should follow up on?
Did they give you a commitment date for that, Joe?
I believe they didn't give a solid date, but I thought it was supposed to be after August 2nd, which is today.
Okay. So if we don't get it by, I'd say early next week, I can ping them.
Okay, and then my last one, this might be a bit of Newfield, a bit Perkins, and then for the committee. I know I want to say it was at Beam and John, so let me know if I'm wrong, but that they took some of the brick from the old building and like laid it in an entryway or something. I don't know if that's something, I just want to bring it up now, that we're interested in doing, maybe not even inside, but along a walkway in just like a little square or something. I don't know, just some way to reuse that brick if anyone.
We would have to do it. We would have to do it either in the parking lot, or because the building is making me fully built, right? Like you're not gonna be taking down the building until the new building's all built and everything, and accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
what, like,
maybe
in
put
an
it-
entryway. I don't know if you like left like a
I almost think could you,
trough for it. I don't know.
or
So
even
just to put
like
it out
maybe
there.
like could you border the sidewalk next to
Yeah.
the soccer field or
Yeah,
something?
Beeman did do a row of bricks in the main entrance after they did it afterwards. They just took some bricks during the
Oh, so they put like
demolition.
they put like
They just put a
holder
row.
bricks in there for
Yeah.
now, and then they put in the.
old
Is it gonna
ones.
look weird though with with the actual brick on the building? Is
Might,
it gonna? It's
yeah.
gonna look funny.
It might, yeah.
Yeah, I mean maybe it's like a sidewalk or the soccer field, right? Like
I
there's
like the idea around the soccer field.
there's a lot of-
kind of like
Yeah.
almost bordering where the school used
Something
to be.
outside,
Like
yeah.
I did it too.
We've all done it tonight, I think.
Maybe something
While
on
on
the
the
outside.
subject of old and new, has there been any movement on a time capsule? And did everybody ever figure out, was there an original time capsule in the 50s building?
There was an original time capsule?
All right, I'm going to bring this up. So in 1959, there was a tree that was planted. In my yearbook in 1983, that same tree was pictured with one of my classmates, and her mom was the girl in the picture in 1959. That tree sits out front of the middle school now. Heather and I both agree it's just too big now. And there's no descent, another person to carry on that tradition. But maybe we do something like that with the new middle school, where we can have somebody plant a tree or something.
Yeah, lots of trees planted.
And start another
Lots of
tradition
trees.
where we take a picture with the students, and then who knows, 25 years from now, maybe one of those students might have a child that goes to the school. So maybe we can do something like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't, this tree now, it's too big, probably be too
Is that
costly.
tree now like gonna be like in the middle of the parking lot, new parking lot, so it's gonna have to be knocked down?
It's so where the memorial bench is,
Yeah.
right out front of CMS.
That's on the other side of the wheel, right? The circle?
But yeah, it's by the bus loop.
But it's on the opposite side of the bus loop. Like
No,
towards-
it's right in front of the main office.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah,
okay, that's
and so
nice.
there's a little tree behind it.
Yeah.
It's not the little tree.
It's the really
one
big
of
tree.
It's
two-
the
one of the two
massive
big trees
tree,
that
and
was
and, like,
planted in 19 I can show you
It's
pictures of it.
like I took a picture. I
Yeah.
took a picture of John. I was like, I don't know how we could.
Yeah.
It would cost us a
It
fortune to salvage this tree, keep it alive, and replant
But
it
what
somewhere.
I'm saying is, with the new layout of everything, does this tree fall on a grass area, or is it falling smack in the middle of where the bus loop is going to be?
Chances are it's not where it's going to need to be.
Probably not.
Something's
With the
gonna
new
work out
layout,
for us,
yeah.
Probably
though.
not.
This
I'm
is
just
just
Something's gonna
curious.
work out.
Joe, how expensive is it to move a whole tree, though? It's got to
Oh
be
my
a
God,
lot
that
of
big?
money.
It's not worth
So,
it.
yeah.
I would think it would be very expensive to move the tree.
So I'm thinking maybe we just do another tree planting or something like that with the current students. Yeah, it might be that one right there, yeah, and that was planted in 1959.
Oh, yeah, that one.
But yeah, but what is going to be there?
I
Maybe
think-
that's like the little island that the bus loop goes by now.
It is.
The new bus loop's
I
going to just
know.
go right
I have to
past
look
it.
at the site plans. Let me see if I can figure it out.
Yeah, there's that little area next to the parking lot.
Tom, do you
something
know
to
what the
think
tree we're talking about is?
Not exactly.
It'd be,
Not exactly.
It's
I don't think
gonna-
Tom wants to know what you're talking about. He's like, this sounds like a nightmare.
it's right over the goals of the soccer field. That's
No,
where it is.
That's the only kind of time capsule that I know of.
The time capsule's under the tree?
No, I'm just saying that.
Is there a time capsule? We have no way of
I'm just
knowing,
saying
right?
That tree was
That tree is
planted-
the time
is
capsule.
the time capsule.
I gotcha. But
Maybe
I do like the idea of a
post-
time capsule, like a real one.
So, yeah, we should do something like that, too.
How does that work?
Yes.
Put an iPhone 13 in there or something.
But they did have to take it down, because parts of it was dying. And then they made little bowls, and so when you go into central office, you can see, like, they took parts of the tree. And so they did make, like the kids in the shop, I think, did that, a little patchwork.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Cutting board. They made
Yeah.
So for those at home who are
something
not
like
hearing
that,
this,
so maybe they can do something.
Right.
we can take the tree and give it to the shop kids at
There you
the high
go.
school and have
we
them
have-
make.
Is there wood
Do we?
shop?
I was going to say, do we
There's
have a
wood
wood shop?
There's wood
There
shop.
is?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
you should take a picture of John with the bowl.
And they can make bowls or lamps or whatever they want to make out of it.
Make a big
gonna-
falcon like that grizzly bear over there on Gear Street.
Oh yeah, make a big falcon, a wood falcon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're getting
We can
a little
hire. We
delirious.
can hire that guy or lady or whoever did it to come do that. Yeah, the chainsaws.
Yeah, there you go, a guy in Gear Street there.
Yeah. Alrighty. Any other questions?
Any follow-up on time capsule?
We'll do a time capsule.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that.
How about you be in charge of that?
Yes,
Ken
you're gonna
Jackson?
be. You are gonna be in charge of it, Mr.
Happy
Jackson.
to work with the school on the time capsule.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I'm gonna put your name down. Ken Jackson, working on time capsule.
Yeah, how do we find out if there is one though? Do we have to like go?
Post to social media, see if anyone knows.
Is there a stone on the school with a date on it? Cornerstone? Yeah.
Thought I saw one somewhere.
Usually that's- I have no idea.
I don't know if there's one next to the plaque or not.
I'm just gonna do a quick time check. We have 25 minutes, so or 20 minutes.
Yeah, we need to make sure we get to the logo.
Yeah, those are all my questions. And yeah, so I guess it's still to be determined if we're gonna preserve brick and put it in a walkway or not.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out the best
We don't have
option
to.
for
I just
that.
wanted to throw it out there before it got too late.
Yes.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we
I
got
don't know.
times.
Things feel like it's moving fast.
We got times. Okay. Tom, any updates for
Okay.
you?
Yeah, on phase one, we are out to bid. Bids are due August 10th. And we, as Joe mentioned, we did receive the construction documents. We are actively working on that estimate. The plans are to wrap up that and the reconciliations by the 25th.
Okay.
And then we're actively working on schedules, traffic, bid packages. We actually have a meeting with the town staff tomorrow regarding the traffic flows. And that's it?
So schedule, we're still on time.
Bid opening at
Yes. No, actually, the bid opening is virtual. They drop off at our office, and then we open them in a virtual format.
Okay. That's it for updates?
That's it.
Do we need a representative from the building committee? I don't know. Do we need a representative for the building committee at that town staff meeting tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. It's just really to go over
Okay.
what the options are, and then we'll develop, from there, we'll develop more detailed plans.
Okay.
Oh, my phone? What is that? Okay. Very good. Jack.
Good evening. Overall financial status, no updates from the last meeting 2 weeks ago. We're just at month end. We're starting to receive the information from our clients for the July transactions. So Emily will have an update as part of our package for the next meeting. As far as invoices, we do have two. I distributed them for all the members. We have constant contact email service reimbursement to Shannon in the amount of $54.47. We have the Arcadis monthly invoice for $6,250, both of those being split between the middle school and central admin project expenses, for a total invoice presentation tonight of $6,304.47.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay.
Okay, also in your packet, we have a couple of purchase orders or purchase order increases, actually both purchase order increases technically. The first is to increase the scope of work for our commissioning agent, Sustainable Engineering Solutions, to provide some post-occupancy follow-up for Eversource as part of their incentive program. This would be data that would be collected over the first year of operation of the building that would go along with the incentive program. By having our commissioning agent do it, it's a very minor increase to their scope of work, because most of the things Eversource wants to know, they're already paying attention to in that first year. So the net cost of that would be $3,500. At this point, we do not have assurance that it would be eligible for reimbursement under the grant, but again, we're looking at collecting significant incentive payment from Eversource by participating in their program, so you know, it comes out in the wash. So $3,500 again, split between the two projects. So let's take that as a standalone action.
Okay, I'll take an action to approve the $3,500 for Sustainable Engineering Solutions.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Can we discuss quickly?
Yes, we can.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. I know you had, we have on our agenda a change order process. Is that different than adding to the purchase order? Because there's like town manager involvement
I don't know.
or approval for, do we have to does the town
It-
manager
it
sign
seem-
off
It seems
to increase?
any financial transaction could fall under that umbrella. I think the first step in any item moving forward is passing through this committee.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to vote on it here anyway,
Right.
regardless of what the process is.
The building committee has to approve first, no matter what.
Okay, so we would approve, and then
Go to the
goes
town.
to the town.
Then it
manager.
goes
I think
downstream,
what it
yeah.
comes down to is the
Okay.
town just wants more information from us when there's a change.
Okay, yeah, so if we approve, the purchase order, then the next step would be that
It goes to the town.
Jack or Rosanna or someone
We-
then,
We submit,
Submit it to the-
once the minutes come out, we submit the item with the minutes as backup. We put a little cover memo on it, and we send it to town hall.
okay. And then we have to wait for their either approval or not approval?
That's part of the follow-up discussion that we'll have in the next agenda
Yeah.
item.
I'll read the letter.
So, of how the whole timeline works.
Okay,
So, but yes, ultimately, it goes through that process downtown.
okay.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. And the next one is the.
And the next one, again, a purchase order increase to Arcadis in this instance to hire the third-party threshold reviewer. Under the Connecticut Building Code, if a building has certain characteristics, of which our building does, it falls under what's called, it becomes what's called a threshold building. So once you pass this threshold of one of several criteria, the state building code requires you to have a third-party structural engineer basically do a peer review of the design. I reached out to 3 engineering firms that have done this kind of work before. Only one was able to meet our schedule on this. One didn't think that they were competitive. The other would have done it, but not in our timeline. And the third is within what we anticipated to see as far as a fee, and can meet our timeline. And so that third-party entity is Susac, Kilty, and Fleur from Avon, and their proposal is for $23,000 plus a 10% markup, to run it as a sub through Arcadis for a total value of $25,300.
Was this the one that was offset by the fact that you're not doing the third party?
No, that's, the offset was when we had the structural detailing that Newfield is procuring, where by detailing it now, the structural bidder won't have to do the detailing down the road, so it's a simple swap in that instance.
Okay.
Here, this is a special service that the building code requires, and it's got to be somebody outside the design team to do it.
But is this something that we had known we were going to do?
We have this funded through the other consultants line that exists in our budget. So we have funding
So it's no
for this.
increase to budget?
No increase to budget. It's just allocating dollars out of that line for quote-unquote other consultants, and then we'll run it through us,
Okay.
for simplicity's sake.
So technically, it's not a change order, is it?
Well, it's a purchase order increase to Arcadis. It's not an increase in project cost.
Okay.
We're just
So we just need to make that
making
clear.
the dollars available.
We need to make that clear with the town that it's just pulling from that line item.
Yeah, and in our proposal memo, which is part of your package,
And are we going to run into issues by not
where is it?
going to bid for this third-party review?
Again, there are a limited number of firms, and meeting our schedule was going to be the determinant more than
I'm not
the
arguing with
price.
that. You know the town we're working in.
So we'll know what that conversation looks like when it happens, but,
Okay, all right.
but this is something that
Yeah.
we need to have in hand before we, A, pull our permit, or B, go to the state, because that'll be one of the check boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the cover letter, it sounds like it's, the way this is written, it sounds like it's new or we weren't expecting it. So I think just making it clear, like Rosanna said, that this was, we had a line for other consultant.
Like, we knew this work was coming
We
along.
knew we were gonna do
It's
this
not-
work. We had
Right.
it budgeted to other consultants. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that instead of the building committee going out to bid for those other consultants, we're gonna do that work through Arcadis.
Right. And that's articulated in the first paragraph there.
I know I'm just saying when I read that though, it sounded to me like this was new work that we
Right.
weren't expecting.
Yeah.
No, it's.
And I don't want the town to think that as well. So I think we just
I-
need to be clear in how we
Correct.
write
You know,
that.
as it says, it's because of the nature of our building being what it is, we fall under this category called threshold building in the building code. So now we're procuring this special service that's required by the building code and has been required. This was not a surprise.
I mean, 25,000 sounds like a lot for this review, doesn't it?
Well, this is going from the soils report all the way through to the top of the roof and doing a back check. So compared to the cost of the structural engineer doing the design work, this is a very small fraction of what the structural engineer is getting paid.
Okay, any further discussion?
What did we have budgeted for it?
It specifically typically ranges in the 20 to 25,000 range, so their proposal at 23 is
What we expected?
is in striking distance, yeah. In the zone.
I don't know, I agree with Shannon. To me, the letter's not clear that it's just a matter of moving the money from the other consultant line to the Arcadis line.
Yeah. Well, that
Well,
and the
that's-
fact that what's driving us to going directly to Arcadis, it feels like you guys just kind of made that decision, which is probably the best decision to make considering schedule and everything, but how do we know that going elsewhere wasn't going to be cheaper?
Well, going elsewhere would have meant going
Time
to
delay.
bid, correct?
You would have to go to
You
bid,
have to
there's
go
a time delay.
through the whole
You're talking
Right.
like 2 months worth of
Right.
Through the
churn.
whole time.
So
the
from a
2
schedule
months-
perspective, this is definitely faster.
Well, even a budget perspective, a 2-month delay is far more than $25,000.
What does this pace? Does this
Beg pardon?
pace phase 2 at all? Is it pace phase 2? Can't speak
Pace.
clearly.
I'm not familiar with the, does it,
Phase two.
does it impact our schedule? No.
PCR, does it pace?
This would fall within our timeline to go to PCR next month.
Okay, so we need this for PCR.
Yes.
Okay.
And ultimately for the building permit.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have had time to go to bid.
Right.
So we need to make that clear in here, that in order to sustain the schedule that we have and not introduce any further delay to the project, that this is the avenue of,
Again, it's a specialty
Procurement.
service. It's not like hiring an architect to do a whole building. You know, it is a
Yeah.
pretty granular task. But the cover memo that goes to town hall can emphasize that.
yep. Okay, any other discussion? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the $25,300.
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, that passes. Anything else, Jack?
Not as far as our report, but we will have some comments under the new business.
Yeah, so let's go new business for like 10 minutes. So the first.
Can I make a motion that we table the logo update to our next meeting?
Yes. Anyone
Second.
want- All in favor?
Aye, aye.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna table that. Okay, so the review, we had something come through this week, it was like $625 or something like that I approved this week. That was for the soil, something.
Some additional environmental testing.
And additional environmental testing. So first question is, we need the building committee to approve that?
Yes, I don't have that document with me tonight, but that is something that ultimately will get paid through Perkins Eastman.
Okay, so the question was, we may get a lot of these kind of like small monetary changes that come through. Does the building committee want to approve every single one of them, or do you want to give me an allowance of, say, $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it is, to just approve these small changes?
Normal and customary for a building committee is the chair has up to a $10,000 approval. Once you start construction, there's going to be moments where the construction manager is going to need to have a decision in a very timely manner. Unforeseen conditions, something comes up and moves along in construction. So I think we need to have a big discussion with the town on this. You're just going to not have time throughout the course of the project to have to go to Tony or this or that or the other thing, certainly not to call the committee together on it. The chair should have, I think, $10,000 authorization to make decisions for ongoing construction change orders.
This
The delays
$10,000.
are going to cost you a lot more than the $10,000.
What do other building committees do? Is that like a threshold that's common?
I've
It's
seen
a little low.
Five,
That's low?
between 5 to 50 at the discretion of the chair. And sometimes there are thresholds, in fact, some of our clients actually give my project manager in the field up to $10,000 discretion to just say, it's timely, it's time sensitive, it needs to be done, and we report it out at the next meeting. Other clients, it's the chair and the owner's rep that can confer up to X dollars. Then there are side street processes of, hey, we need, this is above a threshold, and we need committee approval. So the little side street is that we can call a virtual meeting or do a poll by email of the building committee members in order to approve something with an appropriate explanation, in lieu of calling a special meeting to approve a change.
Okay.
But as Tom says, 10,000, Ken and I worked within that realm on the Colchester project. We have seen projects where that threshold is higher. Again, when we talk about time-sensitive changes, if something isn't time-sensitive, can wait to the next building committee meeting, by all means, I agree that it should wait and it go through the standard process. But when we get into time-sensitive issues, that could really hamstring the CM or a particular trade for getting something done in a timely fashion. This kind of acts as a segue into the next item on the agenda, which is the change order process. The letter that we received from the town manager's office recently essentially says the building committee can recommend that a change be made. Then it goes to town hall and it's reviewed by the town engineer, who then provides advice to the town manager as to whether it should be approved or not. So if we're thinking about it, we meet, generally speaking, every 2 weeks in this meeting. So if tomorrow an item came up, it would be almost 2 weeks before you'd hear about it. And then it would be 1 to 3 weeks after that by the time it would make its circuit through the various reviews and approvals at town hall. So we could be looking at 3 to 5 weeks in order for something to truly be approved and be allowed to move forward under the conditions that the town charter seems to lay out, and as was related by the town manager in his letter. So again, this may be something that's got to go all the way to the town council for discussion.
Do you
in order,
want me to read the letter?
Can I?
That probably would be most helpful, yeah.
Okay, let me just read it real quick. So this is from the town manager's office. It said, "Dear Rosanna, I wanted to thank you for your continued service in connection with the school building committee. The committee's work has certainly lessened the load on the town's professional staff. However, as you're aware, the town's professional staff does have a continuing role, particularly with respect to change orders. More specifically, I am required to review and approve invoices concerning the project. This requirement is specifically laid out in the resolution which created the building committee and is more generally part of my role within the town. In order to approve invoices, I will also need to review and approve change orders. I rely on my staff, particularly John Harriman, to assist me in understanding and evaluating the proposed change orders and invoices. I write to request that the building committee take certain steps in an attempt to streamline the process. First, it is important that the owner's representative clearly and specifically explain why any proposed change order does or does not qualify as a change under the contract at issue. This should result in a straightforward recommendation that the town either approve or reject the proposed change. Where the owner's rep sees offsetting savings, he should attach a corresponding deduct change order or clear statement explaining his opinion that the proposed change will result in savings. Moreover, it is important that the contractors all understand that no proposed change orders or invoices are finally approved by the town until I have reviewed and signed off on them. We do not want to get into a situation where the contractors can claim that they relied on the building committee before receiving final approval. Thank you for your cooperation and your service to the town. I certainly look forward to the day that we can probably look at the completed school and pat ourselves on the back for a job well done. Sincerely, Anthony Salvatore.
So I just have a question. Is he running? I don't understand the connection between a change order and it going through John Harriman.
So
Like,
he looks to John Harriman to review the changes, see if they make sense.
So if that's the case, John Harriman needs to be at these meetings.
I
I don't know how you
disagree.
can review a change order
Without knowing
in
the
dark.
background discussion.
I think they watch these. I think they watch the videos, actually. I think they go on YouTube and watch them when there's something that comes
well,
up.
I hope they do. I let's just trust but verify. I want to know where it says in writing that he's the sole approver of change orders.
So in our resolution, it was very vague. And then we went to the town council at least once on this topic about, because it says that the building committee has fiduciary responsibility under the purchasing, what's it called? Purchasing process of the town, is what it says. So if you go by the purchasing process of the town manager has to sign off on everything. But if the building committee has fiduciary responsibility, then he should not. So it's a contradiction. And I specified that contradiction in the resolution to the town council, and they were unwilling to make any changes at that time. It's something we can revisit. So I think for tonight, the first thing we have to figure out is what's that threshold? And the second thing is, if I have that threshold, maybe I can go to the town and say, listen, for anything under this threshold, the advisement from our
The-
owner's rep and from,
The resolution says consider and act promptly on change orders, making certain that any increase in the cost involved in any change order is within the amount appropriated for the school project.
again, interpretation. It's
So
how they
we-
interpreted it.
We need to go to the town council and if necessary, get some feedback from the lawyer.
We did.
Yes, and if there's a meeting there, I think Rosanna needs to be involved in that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two items in the resolution. There's one specific to change orders, and there's a different one specific to payments and invoices. So if you read the town manager's letter, it sounds like the request is to be a part of change orders. So if that's the case, then town council needs to change the resolution to say that, because today the resolution very clearly gives the building committee the responsibility to act on change orders.
Yeah, item 13 on the charge.
So I can start there with them and just respond to this letter, just clarifying what the resolution says and copy the town council.
Yeah.
And
Well,
go
again, I
down.
stress, I think
Say
Arcadis
jinx
is going to have a rep at the job meetings, construction job meetings, correct?
Yes.
All right, so you're going to have Arcadis' input for any type of immediate change that needs to be addressed for on-site conditions. So I agree with Ken. If they're going to get their hands in it, then this Harrington guy is going to have to come to every job meeting so that he's in the loop as to what's happening and why a change needs.
And be part of our discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not helpful for them to watch a video and stew on it without having any discussion with this team.
And I'm telling you, and I'm sure you're going to agree, there are times you need a decision on a day, not a week or 2 weeks down the line.
Yes, absolutely.
So, how can I say this gently? Half the town council's pretty much leaving, so I don't think they're gonna care. So we may not be able to have this discussion until like January.
Or there might be
Yeah, we
a
can't.
climate in the town council now
Yeah.
to consider it when there wasn't before.
When's the next town council?
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
I think it's important, though, not, I mean, you're a great voice and an advocate, but I think the people who are in the business need to be the ones to educate on how the process can go smoothly, right?
Right.
Like, we don't want to be tripping over our feet for like nothing. Like, it could be a nothing change order, and
Yeah.
it gets bogged down in a process that it's.
Could you attend the next town council meeting next Wednesday? Be my backup.
I believe so.
Hey, can you come
If you need
down?
me, yes, I can be there as well.
I think you're right. I think that's a really good point.
I mean,
Yeah.
we hired experts for a reason.
Yeah. No,
We
you're
aren't
right.
acting in a silo. We aren't.
Right.
I'm not making decisions on door hinges. I'm looking
Actually,
at people who know
Ken,
what
if
they're
you
talking
can
about.
come- if you can, are you around next Wednesday? Because I think the biggest thing that people keep forgetting is that when we built WIS, we didn't have a town manager. We didn't have a town council. We had a board of selectmen, right, back then.
Correct, and the building committee had full
Well,
fiduciary
had full
control
fiduciary
over the-
split and
over the
control. So,
project.
just because we have a town manager today doesn't mean the process has to change.
And I'm thinking of it as whatever. I'm having a hard time coming up with an example, but whatever the issue is for the change order, he wouldn't have had an input had it been part of the original plan, right? Like, if something was an oversight that they found, I'm trying to think of an example, like, of what a change order might be that we'd have to do because
Like, we forgot light
So,
switches.
if a change
right?
order impacted,
That'd be a big one.
if the change order drove the cost of the project higher,
Over
like,
budget.
over budget, that is
That's
separate,
different.
right?
That's
Oh,
different.
yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, we forgot about a whole wall we have to build. It's another $2 million. Okay, that's
That's different.
But I think for these things where you're just trading off costs, you're building in within your contingency. I think it should fall within what
Well,
we're working with.
So for
We're
Shannon's
over
example, we
9
forgot light switches. We forgot to include it. Well, he wasn't part of the original discussion and wouldn't have approved it in the first place. So
Right.
why is it going through his hands after the fact?
It doesn't.
Like, it doesn't.
I think we all
it doesn't
agree it
make
doesn't
sense.
make sense. I think it's more of a
Yes.
okay.
But I think
Thank you.
we should also have a threshold where we should rely on him to approve things.
Yeah, and I think whatever threshold you would set for me, maybe anything beyond that would be something that would fall under the town as well.
Which, again, is fine, but I think then we should be spelling out what their turnaround time has to be. Like, if we present him a change order because it's over your threshold and it's something that we only have 2 days or it's going to stall
Well,
things,
that's what
then
I'm saying. Like, if
they
it's something
can't hold
over,
it for a week because they couldn't connect and he couldn't get, like, that's not really.
well, here, if let's say Tom's like, oh my gosh, something happened. We have to go make a change. It's going to be $200,000. We got to do it right now. We should have experts in the town who'll be able to say, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Let me look at this. What is it that they're asking for? Why is it costing that much? Like, almost like check and balances, right? Because as much as we're involved, we are not experts on building. Well, you guys are, but the rest of us are not entirely experts in some of these processes, right? So for these big ticket things where big changes, it might benefit the town to have that extra set of eyes on it to make sure that something crazy is not happening,
Oh, I'll agreed 100%.
right?
But I think
That's
that
what we're
that
paying Arcadis for.
but it should also come with a timeline so that he can't let it
Right.
it can't sit on
And
someone's desk for a week
I
and
think
a half.
that's part of the process that we have to define out with them. And it's like, let's have a discussion with them. We'll have to sit with Tony and say, hey, maybe we'll plan something for like next Friday. I'm off. And say, hey, like, we're willing to work with you on this, but you have to commit to a 2-day turnaround. And up to this amount of threshold.
Same day turnaround.
Same day
There
turnaround.
are going to be occurrences during the construction process where someone needs to be able to make a decision.
Okay. Well,
I went to the job meetings.
I don't think I'd feel comfortable having to make a decision on $250,000 in one day, though.
You're normally not going to be talking about that type of a range.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there has to be some threshold where you're like, this is reasonable up to this amount, but anything above that, like, we should be offered the time to go figure out if this makes sense.
Well, I
or not.
said
But-
10, or they're recommending 50, so it's.
Well, and it's not like they're just going to throw a change order at us. It's all going to be discussed during meetings, So,
Well, I'm hearing that you may not have time to wait to the next meeting.
but usually they'll have a budget that they put together, so you're kind of getting used to what that cost is. And then they'll say, okay, here's the final PCO, proposed change order, and, you know, it's this amount of money. It might not be the same as what they were budgeting before.
But aren't they having daily meetings?
No, they'll,
Like the,
It'd be bi-weekly or more like weekly meetings,
Here.
you know, of, you know,
Overtime.
owner, architect, and constructor meetings, OAC
Okay.
meetings.
I was
yeah,
Okay.
those are usually once a
So-
week
thinking
or.
the job site meetings. But
un-
Ken, when you were in Colchester doing operations, were you at all the Colchester meetings?
I went to every one of the job meetings while I was in Colchester,
Wow.
the weekly meetings, as part of my role,
Okay.
responsibility.
Yeah.
And I was also given authority by the building committee to authorize up to $10,000 on my own authorization.
As like the,
And then I'd always notify the chair, and we'd text back and forth, and I keep them in the loop. But I could sign a document right there at the job meeting up to $10,000.
So anything over that, how long did it take to get?
You have to wait till the
It
next
depends
building
on the
committee meeting.
urgency of it and whatnot.
And that
I mean,
was in
they
your
could call
role-
Special meetings or whatever the case is.
that
but it's
was in
pretty
your
rare.
role working for the school district?
Correct.
Yeah. So we
Okay,
don't even
s-
have that.
So-
And that's why we have, as I mentioned,
We
you
have a
know,
lot to
a side
figure out.
street on the process where if something is urgent, but it's expensive and above the threshold, you put in a process where you can have basically an email poll of the members in lieu of a special in-person meeting or virtual meeting in order to get the facts out there and get a, you
The
know,
town won't
get-
accept
get
an
us-
email poll.
They won't.
We went through that already once.
Then we'd have to do a virtual, you know,
We'd have to do like a
an
Zoom meeting.
emergency Zoom meeting or something.
All right, so we're over time. Are we comfortable voting for a threshold, or do you want to table it to the next meeting?
Well,
Okay.
Rosanna, I just
Okay.
want to add some quick, just for context on approval thresholds. So I believe back in April, we calculated the cost of a delay for the project of about a month was about $400K, right?
Yep.
So if that's the case, the cost of delaying one day is about $20,000.
Yep.
So if you use that math, you know, you might want to advocate for, you know, whether the building committee says 10 or something like that, the cost of a one-day delay is about $20K.
Until you go to bid, and
So
then
you may want to
once you go to bid and everything is kind of locked down, that doesn't really apply, right?
Well, again, if you're interrupting construction, we had a situation this past fall where on the first day of excavation for an addition, we found out that the information we got from the gas utility was incorrect, and the gas main was in a different spot than where they told us.
Oh, my gosh.
And that stopped excavation dead in its tracks. So until that change order could be approved and the gas line to the existing building could be rerouted to allow construction to proceed, everything came to an halt. It wasn't hugely expensive, but again, if it's a process where we've got to wait 2 weeks for a meeting and then wait ultimately for somebody's signature after the fact, and 3 to 5 weeks goes by, then you're holding everybody up for 3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
My quick 2 cents of it, have a meeting with the town staff.
Yep.
And the experts here,
Mhm.
whether it's town council or prior to, try to agree on a threshold for your independent discretion, then a threshold for, town engagement. If we have 2 thresholds,
Yep.
ideal world, then we could vote on.
And I think the town needs to understand, and I don't know if, I'm sure maybe Harrington does, but, you know, there's different type of change orders. You know, at the end of the project, if we have contingency money left and there's some things we really wanted to do for the project, but we didn't at the time put it in the bid packages, most building committees will then, you know, vote to approve to do the add-ons to the project. If the town wants to get their hands on that, that's one thing. But when you're talking construction change orders, that's a whole different critter.
Yep.
You don't have time to go through a Harrington and then approvals from the town manager and all that. It needs to be that day type of a decision, so.
Okay. All right, very good. We're way over time. So, meeting adjourned.